Can you imagine
still,
me now, Can you imagine me now? One kind uncle in the village is forcing me to go and get married. Me now, me, Uche, as I am right now.
Exactly.
In our village to go and find one kind yellow wife.
Exactly.
Because it's always yellow.
It's always yellow.
It cannot be anything less than yellow.
Yeah, exactly.
We all know. And now I'll go and marry trouble.
Yeah.
And bring trouble here. And then we have a bunch of trouble children.
Yeah.
And I'm just confused. You know, high blood pressure, diabetes,
of course.
You know, every day.
Yes.
You know, police this, immigration that. You know, Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. My name is Uche. Thank you so much for joining. If you are returning, thank you. If you are joining for the first time, please make sure to subscribe, share with your friends and family. Bottom right-hand corner, hit that subscribe button. Do not forget to hit the bell notification. So anytime I upload a video, you'll be the very first to be notified. Thank you. Today I'm going to be talking about Africans and Nigerians living in the diaspora. Some of the things that we've had to endure, some of the things that we have to navigate through. As I've talked about in the past, and especially if you're African living in the diaspora, you do understand that it could be quite challenging, you know, living in the diaspora, especially the ones who were born on the continent or at least lived in the continent before coming to the Americas or in the West. It could be quite challenging, you know, living in a foreign country, learning new languages, learning new laws, eating new foods, embracing new cultures, and on top of that, being queer. I feel like a lot of us were a lot more disadvantaged. So the point of this particular episode is to talk about some of the things that collectively LGBTQ queer people who live in the diaspora from Africa, Nigeria, or other parts of Africa that we face on a daily basis, you know, from mental health issues, depression, anxiety, being ostracized from our families, churches, not being able to express who you are at work, whatever it is. You know, I want to be able to talk about this as openly as possible because I know I'm not the only one, so we can air it out and let people know that you're not the only one who's going through this. The point is to hopefully start having honest conversations so we can actually take initiative to do something different. Oftentimes we come from households that try to tell us what we need to do, who we need to be, and then we also live in a society that keeps telling us what we need to do, even though these things don't necessarily conform to who we are. So for this particular episode, I have my boy Chidi to help me talk about some of these points that I brought up. Being African, being Nigerian, living in America as a queer person. What's going on, Chidi? Give us an introduction.
Hello. My name is Chidi. I am a librarian. I'm 27 years old. Born and raised in Houston, Texas. The Houston area anyways. Also, I am a gay man. So yeah, I guess that qualifies me for some of this conversation.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you so much, Chidi, for coming out here. I know it's a very busy day for you. And apologies that we had to reschedule. Been very busy. I have so much going on.
That's fine.
And I'm glad that we're finally here talking about this. And I think you're one of the most qualified people that I want to talk about these things with because of how honest and transparent you are. You know, you and I, when we talk, it's heart to heart. There's no packaging. Nobody's packaging anything. Amazon.com. You know, so we're not, you know, we're being very honest and direct. And I like some of the conversation we've had off camera as well. You know, some of the things that not just as queer people, but also Black people we face in the West, as immigrants we face in the West. You know, you were born here, but I wasn't, you know. But I know there's a lot of Nigerians and also other Africans who live in the West who go through that immigrant package, especially coming from Africa, you know. And also having to navigate through our family dynamics. A lot of us come from broken families. And then, of course, being a queer person, a lot of us, unfortunately, don't understand what it feels like to love or be loved. We don't know how to give love. We've never been given an opportunity to express ourselves in the most authentic ways in our households, and you know, and now we're grown. Some of us are desperately looking for cliques for our own tribes, you know, our own family, our own sense of community. And I feel like there's not a lot of that, at least solid, diverse sense of community for a lot of LGBTQ people of color, but specifically from the diaspora. And I'm definitely speaking from my experience living in America and also having traveled the world. I've met a lot of queer Africans, a lot of queer Nigerians who are in denial, who are living in the closet, DL. You know, a lot of them are married, have wives and kids. You know what I mean? We all know those people, you know, like some of them lie about it, or at least try,
Yeah.
but we all know, you
We
know
know.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is very rampant. This is very prevalent. Like it's everywhere. So I want us to have this honest conversation as to people like you and I who are independent, who are successful, who are openly queer, doing our thing, and also anyone who's watching to kind of incentivize, like, you don't have to do that. What are some of the things that we can do to create our own community where we can be with people who genuinely love us, that appreciate us for who we are, and vice versa. So tell me, how has your experience been being a queer Nigerian person living in America?
So my experience has been there's been many ups and downs, as every story has. There's some highlights really coming from college days, parts of high school when the budding flower was starting to show petals. But mostly college and after college where I became more comfortable. But then there were also some bad days, which came during grade school, particularly, and also in other times too. Still, to me, even as an adult, I still feel there are some feelings of the sense of. I always say the ancestors moving the dead flesh, moving the living. Sometimes you can still feel that even if it's not prevalent, is still there. So I mean, there are things that I have to things that I still deal with, and that I've dealt with in my 27 years. But yeah, lots of ups and downs, and it's been a long ride, and it's not going to end. I do not think, unfortunately so, that the perspective, the collective perspective anyways, will not change in our lifetime. Unfortunately, I feel like not to go on a too far tangent, but I just don't think that Nigerians are ready for the overall collective in our lifetime to have that switch to view everyone as a human being, to be quite honest, which is kind of sad to say.
Yeah, because we as Nigerians, we have a lot that we're dealing with. We're still dealing with the issues that have trickled down, generations past, to us as well. And a lot of us, we are dealing with familial problems, childhood traumas, and all kinds of things, But at the end of the day, just like I mentioned on one of the episodes that I made, or at least a trailer that I made, queer people are here. We're people as well. And I know that we're used to not being seen or heard. We're seen as taboo or people who shouldn't exist or whatever it is, And someone like me, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't think I'm taboo. I don't think there's anything wrong with me. Matter of fact, I think so highly of myself, actually, ever since I was a kid. But like living in a country or living in a world or society that berates me and tells me that I need to be ashamed of myself, I'm like, yeah, no, that's not who I am. Maybe you should be ashamed of yourself for thinking that another human being should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah.
But for me, that's not how I see myself, which is why I've taken it upon myself to start having this conversation to air this out, because someone has to do it.
Yeah, and I think one thing about you just kind of reminded me is the that feeling of shame, and I feel like yes, I've felt the feeling of shame before, but I feel like my feeling of shame was it was like a needle, like a prick of a needle, because I was raised in America, because I saw the perspective of Americans change for their perspective on LGBT. LGB, the T is a little straggling.
Yeah.
The queer issues they've become, people have become better. And in 27 years I've lived, I've seen it become better. I mean, in real time, like especially like in high school, like, people just really, from middle grade always to high school, people's perspective just completely changed. Where now, like, if not at all schools, not at all classes, but at least for my class, if you don't mess with the gay kids because you're gonna get your ass beat.
Okay, especially the black gay kids.
You don't mess with them.
They will clown you.
They will clown
the shade,
and everyone's gonna be on their side. And it's like, it has completely changed. So I am happy for that.
Okay.
However, my needle prick of the shame is not the same for people who are born in Nigeria, people who are born in other countries that are harsh on their view of their brothers and sisters. So yeah, it's been a weird, for me anyways, personally, been a weird journey, but seeing it all, seeing the juxtaposing it with like my cousins and people, everyone's a cousin in Nigeria, juxtaposing with everyone I know in Nigeria, just in how it is in my life, I kind of feel that I've had it easy with my privileges, but
I am so glad that you brought that up because this kind of ties into what I'm trying to do. My focus is on the diaspora. There's nothing wrong with the ones in Africa, on the continent and things like that. And kudos to every single one, man or woman, who is doing the damn thing in Africa, irrespective of who you are, in spite of your privilege or lack of, being bold with who you are, not lying, not deceiving anyone. Kudos to you. And the ones who are still in the closet, I do understand. But I focus on the diaspora because I understand realistically we have privilege. Like it or not, we just do.
We do. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think I would even have the courage to even do what I'm doing right now if I was still in Aba.
Of course, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and this is why I'm trying to incentivize people like us, people who are educated, people who are independent, people who are successful, who have dual nationalities. You know what I mean? You are a boss. Who's gonna check you? Like, you live in America, and America is a very individualistic state. It's like, do your job, go to school, do your thing, pay your bills, pay your taxes. You're good.
No one's checking up on you.
No one,
unless they want to, no one's checking up on you.
Exactly. And I think there's power and privilege to harness from that. There's power to be harnessed from that privilege. Like, you are the blueprint. You set your own tone. And this is something that, unfortunately, I feel like a lot of diasporans have not overcome as a result of our extremely hypocritical and religious background. A lot of the things that the culture, the mediocre culture that our parents raised us with from Nigeria. A lot of us were still tied down to that outdated mentality, and as a result, we feel a sense of shame, and that forces us to suppress our privilege as Americans who can express as they wish, if that makes sense.
It makes complete sense. Complete sense. It shocks me that some of the people I call my friends will create their personal hell on earth just because the blueprint has been given to them by somebody else. But that blueprint is their personal hell. When they live in a country so fertile with
opportunities to be.
To be with thousands of miles separating them from the people who move their every decision.
Bro,
it is shocking that they don't see the flaw in their decisions. You have the freedom. If you look around you, there's no one's checking up on you.
Ain't nobody checking you for nothing.
For nothing, yes.
Can you imagine me now, Can you imagine me now? One kind of uncle in the village is forcing me to go and get married. Me, Uche, as I am right now.
Exactly.
Unga village to go and find one kind yellow wife.
Exactly.
Because it's always yellow.
It's always yellow.
It cannot be anything less than yellow. Yeah, exactly. We all know.
If you're in America, all they want is yellow.
And now I'll go and marry trouble.
Yeah.
And bring trouble here. And then we have a bunch of trouble children.
Yeah.
And I'm just confused. High blood pressure, diabetes,
of course.
Every day.
Yes.
Police this, immigration that.
What is yeah.
I just, it makes me cringe with so much sadness when I see people like us who fall for this malarkey. Now, I can understand the ones in Nigeria and the continent.
I can.
To a certain extent, I don't
Yeah, I can.
condone it. I have my opinions as to how you can fight it on the motherland, but I feel like I'm not the right spokesperson for that because I don't understand that reality. So I'm just focused on the reality that I do understand, so I don't offend people. But for the ones who are here, there's so much that we can do. I'm starting with ourselves as individuals. And this is why I'm taking it upon myself because no one is doing it. I don't think I know any Igbo speaking Nigerian who's speaking out, who's openly gay or openly lesbian and pushing the torch, like torch bearer. Like, yo, we got to do something different. Because the reason why I'm doing it, because growing up, I never saw anyone like me. I never saw anyone I wanted to emulate. I didn't have the best relationship with my own parents. I didn't have any type of role model, and I wished I had somebody I can emulate. I wish I had someone who could show me the way. I wished I had somebody who I can I want to be like you when I grow up. I want, like the blueprint of what to follow. A lot of what I saw was just malarkey. And I'm not just talking about the LGBTQ community. I'm just talking about within the Black Nigerian sphere. I saw a lot of things I didn't want to be. Like I saw a lot of broken marriages. I didn't want to get married to someone that I hate and they hate me. I saw a lot of arranged marriages. I saw a lot of people who don't like their kids and their kids don't like them. I saw a lot of people who go to college to study things that they didn't even want to study. I saw a lot of people who go to school, come home, and not have any type of job. I saw a lot of misery, and I just didn't want that. And as a result, I walked into the world to find myself, and I'm still finding myself, And in that process, I've learned so much about within the LGBT Nigerian space. There isn't even a sense of tangible community per se, which has even, kind of hurt someone like me even more. Hence why I'm talking about this, because I believe there's a lot more people like us out there, and I want to incentivize us. I feel like the more we speak, the more we show our faces, the more we're able to build tangible community where you crave each other outside of sex, outside of, the pretentious, look at me, the fake, flashy lifestyle. Like, you want to have a sense of community, especially for those of us who come from their toxic family backgrounds, right?
Yes, I think that's something that is extremely needed. In Nigerian communities of all shapes, forms, especially the queer ones, because there are less and less and less things to relate to, especially with not sample size, but the population size of that community. But yeah, especially when it comes to the queer group, my personal experience with it has always been like, it's I go to these groups and I want for there to be more than just the simple. I want for people to see me for more than just, oh, look at him, he looks hot, or whatever. And I'll sit there and I wait for someone to, and I watch them, I listen to what they say, and he kiki with them. But then, I'd wait for someone in my community to see me for more than just that. And it's quite off-putting, not off-putting, but, yes, it is off-putting. It's off-putting. And at the very least, I at least know that it's possible, because it's not like I'm not like an anomaly. I do know that there are people who want this too, but then I feel like at the forefront needs to be this connection that we want with each other, so we can have these groups that are better, just better in general. But yeah,
like being intentional in the relationships that we form within these groups. I feel like one of the things that's lacking is a lot of us, we don't even know how to be queer. We don't know how to be gay. We don't know how to be lesbian. We just don't, because this is something that is just not spoken about in our households, in our culture, so unfortunately, when you don't teach someone something, or at least try to guide them to grow within or mature within something that is so natural to them, that natural aspect of them is going to try to find it somewhere else. and they look at the media, they look at the
Yeah.
the internet, and literally anything out there to find themselves. And as a result, unfortunately, when you look at the media to try to find yourself, the only thing you're going to keep seeing is just people try to capitalize off your ignorance, and we perpetuate that ignorance. As a result, you have a lot of people who think being gay is having multiple sex partners.
Yeah.
Being very effeminate or just extra, just doing the most.
Really nice.
And unfortunately, it's just like you said, you are an observer. I'm a watcher as well. I'm an observer as well. You see a lot of these friend groups or these sense of communities. It's so empty. The conversations are very frivolous. It's almost like a waste of time to a certain extent. And it's not just within the LGBTQ community either.
Oh, no,
you see this in the straights as well. I've hung out with
course.
straight guys. I've seen men and women. I've been in so many different groups. It's always the same. Look at what I have. Look at what I don't have.
I mean, you can sense that stuff from a mile away. It's like a disturbance.
It's almost like everyone is trying to one up each other. Look at what I have that you don't have. But to me, the observer, I just see emptiness. Because the emptiness is just so loud. Even when you think you're the baddest B word or the realest N word, it's like I just see the desperation reeking of you.
Yeah.
Emptiness is something. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with the way we were raised within our households. A lot of us, we don't have love, genuine love in our households. I mean, it's hard to find that when, half of our parents are arranged, their marriages are arranged. There's no real courtship, there's no real marriage, there's no real love in the marriage. We are the products of that union. You know what I mean? And of course, being queer, being gay, being LGBTQ makes it even worse, because now growing up in a household that is very hypocritical and very, very religious and very hypocritical, there's this desperate need for you to dumb yourself down and shrink yourself. So a part of your psyche does not develop. Part of your confidence does not develop until you are an adult. You go into the world trying to find yourself. And fortunately, it's trial and error. What do you think about that?
So yeah, I feel like a lot of the issues, and people get married for many reasons, and I'm not one to knock these reasons away. But then, like, if a child is produced by or raised in a not so ideal environment, they're not going to become the ideal person. It's just, it's common sense. But I feel like a lot of the times, because a lot of people are not able to see and heal from these upbringings, they can recognize that there's an issue, but they can't recognize that the issue has now manifested in them. So I have a question for you. What would be your ideal community? Of course, nothing is ideal. But we have these thoughts in our head that this has to be this way, that there won't be any drama if only A, B, C, D, E, F, G were aligned and sung in A minor, stuff like that. We have these ideals that if these conditions are met, then peace and tranquility would be abundant. But that's not always the case. Okay. So I guess not the ideal community that we need to have, but more at least the bare minimum.
I think what we're lacking right now in the African diaspora LGBTQ population is lack of diversity. I don't think we have diverse communities, like, subsect communities within that community. Say me, for example, I am somebody, I don't like clubs. I distaste clubs. Don't get me wrong, I've been through clubs before, I went through a phase where I used to go clubbing every weekend. I was young, living wild and free. Of course. It was a phase, let it out of my system. But I left all that behind. I'm too busy for that. That's the loud noise, to me, that's, I cannot, the ringing in my ear, just no.
Hate it.
No, thank you.
2 out of 10, yeah.
And trying to talk over and try to talk to people and yelling and losing my voice and spending 3-4 times more for drinks when I have the same drinks in my home. I just think is absurd. You know what I mean? Now, that's just from my perspective. That may work for somebody else. By all means, have a tribe with those people, have fun. Nothing wrong with y'all. God bless you. But me personally, my type of group, ideally on a Saturday evening, I just want to be in my backyard, drinking tea, drinking a bottle of wine, and just talking about philosophy stuff. As you know, I'm studying philosophy right now.
Yeah.
I like to talk about God. I like to talk about sexuality. I like to talk about the universe. Where did we come from? Where are we going when we're dead? Do you believe in soul? What is a soul? Body, mind, and spirit complex. Things like that. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about break down the nuances of sexuality, because I believe that there's so many nuances of sexuality, and I actually believe it's infinite. And the reason why I believe it's infinite is because of its correlationship with spirituality. But that's a whole nother, tangent. My point is, I like to be around people who talk about existential things that stand out to me as Uche. I want to be around people who I crave. I want to crave you. I want to be around you because every time I'm around you, I have peace in my soul.
Okay, so why don't you think Nigerians, to an extent Black Americans, honestly, why don't you think they have the diverse, diverse communities? I feel like you either have this community or that community, and there's no other choice.
You mean in the Black American community?
In Nigerian communities as well. I mean, and in both, because I always have to include the Black community as well, because I feel like I'm not sure which is a subset of which, but they're so closely related that sometimes
I think we're all the victims of the same problem. I think we're all victims of the exact same problem.
Yeah.
White supremacy, ego, narcissism, capitalism, all of it. We're all human beings who are victims of the exact same thing, which is why I say let's talk about us, right? But it is up to us, though. And these are systems that we perpetuate on our own. We've been indoctrinated into this mediocrity. And ever since I was a kid, I've always seen it as mediocre. And we perpetuate it. It is up to us to change that narrative. We are the people who have to do something different about it. Hence why I'm doing this, being as intentional, like, okay, we don't have to keep doing this. We don't all have to do this, either A or B. No, there should be subsex. There should be a space for someone like you.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. I like you. I think you're a cool person. You're definitely one of my favorite people, right? But let's be honest. You don't fit that mode of what the typical LGBTQ would want. You don't have the six packs. No. You don't have this. You don't have that. No. Even within the Nigerian space, you don't drive the BMWs and the Mercedes. Yeah. You're not a doctor and things like that. Even me, this is my home, which I'm truly blessed with. I dress quite modestly. I drove my little Ford Focus for such a long time. I have been in so many Nigerian spaces, people would just overlook me because to them, they think I'm poor. Mm-hmm. Who is this one? I bet shift. Or when I'm speaking with a Nigerian accent, or when I'm speaking Igbo, I speak Igbo very fluently. Yeah. They'll think this one just came to America last week, and they'll just put me to a whole different category. You understand what I'm saying? That is what is very prevalent within our community. What I'm doing, though, is to incentivize that we don't need to all do that. If you're doing that and that works for you, you want to have a big boy club, big girl club where you have to drive a Porsche, Mercedes, whatever, have fun. But for the rest of us here, we can do more. We don't all have to be pick me. Because that's what I notice a lot of LGBTQ within Nigerian spaces do. Matter of fact, not just Nigerian space, but like African space do. I remember meeting someone, I'm not going to talk about who this person is, out of respect. And he's gay, he's in the closet, from Africa, like born and raised and all of that, came to America as an adult. And he would just have random sex, like just random sex with a bunch of men, you know what I mean? And I'm like, whoa, why? And he almost seemed disgusted by it, but also felt like it was law. Like he had to do it. Like he told me, like, what else is there to do? I was like, what the F? You know what I mean? Like, to me, that made me sad. Like, he's settling for something that is not him because he feels like this is what he has to do in order for him to belong within that space.
Yeah.
That's why we're having this conversation. We need to be open about ourselves. We need to be able to harness the power and strength that we have in our citizenship or dual nationalities to create our own spaces. If you are a queer person who likes fishing or whatever it is, be able to navigate through that space with people like you. If you like philosophy, be able to do things like that. If you want to party your brain out, to be able to do that. If you want to go to Dubai and throw your ass in a circle, be able to do that. There should be space for everyone because that's what you want to do. Not just because you feel like you're settling, because that's what you feel like, oh, I have to do it. If not, what else do I have? And I feel like this is something that a lot of LGBTQ people face. I've observed so many friend groups that are so, in my opinion, very low vibrational. I feel like a lot of people within that group are tolerating each other because you don't know any better or you don't have better options, and you just stay there.
And I feel like a lot of the time they don't even know each other.
Yes. And how can you know each other when
Exactly.
all you have on the outside is the pretentious vain cover of what you feel like you have to show in order for you to be accepted within the space?
Yeah.
When in reality, all of you are just yearning for attention and love. It's just nothing but emptiness. And it doesn't matter how good looking everyone is dressed at the table, but you reek of emptiness.
And and that's something that is so. I mean, it's so like. I don't want to say sad because then it'll be me.
It is sad.
It is sad.
It is sad.
I don't want to say I feel pity
it is
for
sad.
her.
It is sad because that's why I'm doing this. I'm taking the initiative to do different, something different. Like, no, this is nonsense. We need to stop. We need to start talking about these issues as honestly as possible, because we create those systems and we stay in those systems even when they don't serve us. It is time to do something different. But it's very difficult to be able to do that within a space where no one knows themselves. A lot of people are broken and no one is taking the initiative to do something different.
Very true. And I think that's, and I've had a long colored experience with many queer groups. I mean, one queer group I had, they questioned, I will never forget this, they questioned if I were truly a gay man. Because I didn't true story, because I didn't do drugs with them.
Wow!
Because
my God,
I can't. That group was a mess. I mean, they questioned everything about my to validate because they wanted, so they had the concept of what that looks like. And I guess because I'm able to be around people because I mean we all share that one identity. However, because they don't really know anything but that, and because they have a warped view of that nowadays, it's not even like even that one thing doesn't even matter anymore. Which is why that friend group is long gone. I mean, that was a friend of a friend invited me there, and I just didn't feel it. And after I left, after like 3 months, I told her why. I was like, yeah, because they're not the best people. And lo and behold, I mean, they all have problems now. But I mean, that's a whole different. I mean, I feel bad for them, but it's like, what do you expect if your hand's on the kettle? You're gonna get burned. So I mean,
I've met people who, from the surface, I'm like, okay, I can try to get to know this person, but then it's like there's this expectation if we're not sleeping together, we're dating or something like that. But I don't want either one of those things from you. Like I'm not trying to sleep with you. I don't want to date you either. And it's so sad that you have to be doing either or. It's Jesus Christ, man. I'm trying not to swear, but it's almost like an ultimatum from the beginning. Are we okay? If we're not sleeping together, we're not dating. You must not like me. Yes. But I'm here because I'm trying to get to know you as a human being.
Yeah.
Why not give me the opportunity to get to know you?
Yeah.
Without even caring if I'm attracted to you or not. There's a possibility I'm not physically attracted to you, but would you really like to be around someone who just tosses you to the side just because they're not attracted to you. You know what I mean? And I try to be as patient as possible. I try to extend that humanity. I try to extend that love, that emotional intelligence, because I wouldn't want somebody to just toss me to the side just because they don't find me attractive, you know? Because how else are you going to build that community that you want so bad, right? If you don't give people a chance.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
You have to allow people to be themselves. You have to allow them to show what is truly in their being. However, they don't know what's in their being. They don't know how to show what's in their being. So then you're just waiting for them to show who they are, to connect to who they are. But they don't know who they are. And then you're connecting to a shallow, empty shell.
And I do want to blame our parents to a certain extent. You know, a lot of our parents didn't teach us love. As a matter of fact, some of our parents are the reasons why we hate ourselves, you know, constantly berating us, telling us that we're not good enough, you know, things like that. A lot of us have social anxieties because of our parents. A lot of us have low self-esteem, extremely low self-esteem because of our parents, depression, anxiety, and so on and so forth. So because from cradle, we don't have that confidence in being, we grow up, and also being in the closet and, you know, not being able to express who you are as confident as possible. By the time you move to college, that's when you start, you know, try to explore something that a straight person would typically do like at 12, 13, 14 years old. So you're kind of like behind. This is why you see like a 30-something-year-old gay man who is acting so juvenile, you know, like you mentioned before, the high school behavior.
Yeah,
it is so sad. You know what I mean? And I blame a lot of our parents for that. But again, the thing that I'm saying is that we don't have to continue doing that. We don't have to. You know, there was a time in my life that I perpetrated a lot of those negative, low vibrational things that my parents and our culture put in my head. And I was like, enough is enough. I'm going to have to do something different because I don't like the result that I'm getting when I keep going back to this nonsense. So I'm doing something different, you know, starting with therapy. Being pragmatic about the situation of being an American, living in America as an American, legal American citizen. Who's going to check you? There's power in that. So I started, you know, educating myself, going to school, being intentional, going to therapy, reading. This is why I read a lot. I'm not really a natural reader per se. I force myself to read because I'm hungry for knowledge. Who is going to educate me if I don't?
Yeah.
I don't have anyone, you know, I don't have my mother or my father who is there holding my hands and teaching me and things like that. I am taking the initiative to do something different because the alternative is this malarkey. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's why I'm putting myself, aligning myself. This is why I'm doing this particular podcast. If you see yourself, if you're black, if you're LGBTQ, if you're Nigerian American, and you live in a diaspora, and you have that discomfort inside your soul, you know, you don't feel enough, you don't feel like you don't feel complete in your friend groups, you don't feel complete in your family, you don't feel, you know, you feel the need to constantly hide all the time. I am calling us to action. You can do something different. Because if you keep going back to that, you're causing that problem yourself, and you're choosing to remain in that problem by yourself. Get therapy, get out, do something. And one of my favorite advice from Michelle Obama in her book Becoming, when she was talking to a group of black British schoolgirls in England, is use school. Use school, use education to get out of whatever misery you're in. I know that our education system is a mess, but you can use school to educate yourself. You can go to school, educate yourself, not just go to college, but educate yourself. This is a wonderful time to be alive. We have computers at our fingertips. There's so many opportunities for therapy, so many opportunities for courses that can align you with the path of who you need to be. So many resources available, especially if you live here in the U.S. Do something. Be the change that you crave so bad. Do something different. Even if it means going to therapy, even if it means going to school, utilize whatever opportunities that you have, whatever your privilege can bring to you, utilize it and be aggressive with it, because the alternative is going back to your misery.
Yeah, I mean, for something to help, to help in all this, I would give the advice that it is better to feel better than to feel worse. I mean, it's such a simple advice, but like, you have to wake up each day and each morning with who you are and who looks at you in the mirror, and you need to be okay with the person who's looking back. I feel like a lot of people just aren't okay, or they just don't look at the mirror. They just walk past it. But at the same, even if you walk past it, your reflection is still going to be the same in other people's eye. It's still going to be the same. Even if you don't look at the mirror is still going to be there. The reflection is still going to be what it is. But that's like one simple thing.
And try to curb that emptiness with drugs, alcohol, or sex.
Yeah.
That is just a reactive solution. It is not a proactive solution, because your emptiness is still going to be there. That misery that you feel deep inside your soul, it ain't going nowhere until you press play.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people need to be more. If they want to feel better, they need to be able to educate themselves on who they are as a person.
Take time to get to know yourself.
Do different things. Go out, go hiking one day if you can. If you can't, do something else. Read a book. See if you like reading something else. Watch a movie. Maybe watch different genres. If you are like a movie buff, you can watch different genres. Go out biking. Work out. You know, there are things that you can do to know what you like to do, so you can find a community in that interest. You know,
The key word is intentionally putting yourself out there. Intentionally putting yourself out there.
yeah.
So you can find like minds, you know.
Yes.
But you have to be vulnerable. You know, you have to distance yourself from this false image of who you've always been, or who society told you need to be.
Yes, you have to let go of society's image, what is right and what's wrong, what is cool and what's not cool. You know, it has to go. If we go back to the high school mindset, you know, I mean, sorry, Mom, but you know, in high school, like, you know, I was drinking, I was partying, not partying hard, but I was partying, I was drinking, I was doing what I had to do.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
What you know, what the cool cats do. But even then, you know, you had to still be able to humble yourself. You still go to school the next day.
Yeah.
You know, you're still going to go back home. You still need to figure out like what you want to do after school, what you're going to do, like, you know, in college, what you're going to do then as an adult. You know, these things are fun and they're a good escape. They're not you don't make your bed on such a wavy shifting sand. You have to have a foundation,
Especially when you're older as well. Like, some of those things are cool when you're in college, when you're young.
Of
But when
course.
you get older and real life, you know, hits you, it's time to mature. You know, it's time to do something different.
I mean, it sounds condescending, but it's not, because it's the truth. I mean, like,
It is.
as you get older, you just have to grow up. You know, even if and we see those people who have their midlife crisis, the people who are older and do their thing, but even they know that in us young, and we see it now. If we can see it and recognize that that's wrong, but we're heading to that same direction, you have to be able to recognize that you're heading in that direction and that needs to change.
Anyway, this topic is one that is very lengthy. You know,
It is
like, if we
lengthy.
start unpacking
We're going on
all
tangents.
of the things that is wrong with Africa, all the things that's wrong with the African diaspora, all the things wrong with the LGBTQ community, all the things wrong with the crossover of those communities, we're going to be here till 10 years from today, because there's a lot. In as much as I am very vocal about the issues within these communities, we are the only people who can fix these problems. Like, no one else is going to come in, and no Jesus is coming to save us anytime soon. So we need to take initiative to start doing something different. We all deserve to be seen. We all deserve love. We all deserve to be heard. We all deserve to live life to our fullest potential, especially for those of us who live in the diaspora, you know, with the privilege of dual citizenship. You know, who's going to check you? Do you understand? The only thing keeping you is you. And if someone is not going to love you or accept you or love you less just because they don't want to see you happy, because they can't stand you being your most authentic self, you probably don't need that person. And the only thing keeping you from living your fullest potential is you. And that's the point of today's episode. Start having honest conversations as to some of the things that a lot of us in the diaspora would deal with on a regular basis, that a lot of people are very hush-hush about. And if this is something that you can relate, please share your thoughts down below. I do want to hear your story. I want to read about your journey. How have you been able to navigate the LGBTQ space as an African in Diaspora. What are some of the suggestions that you are willing to bring to the table? Please let us know. Please don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell notification so anytime we upload a video, you'll be the very first to be notified. Please follow on social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and TikTok at LTAU with Uche. Instagram is UC_images. Thank you so much for your continued support. Until next time. Bye-bye.